We're only about halfway through 2020, but the world of cinema has given us a decent amount of new movies already. Some have been a hit while others have been a total miss, and today on Beyond the Screen, I am dishing out the worst movies of 2020 so far. I'm helping you so that you don't have to waste your time watching them, so you can thank me later. I'm your host for this one. I'm Joss Bedard. Thanks for coming back to Top 10 Beyond the Screen. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. Also stick around to the end because we do shout out comments and it is a lot of fun. But for now, here is the list. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Doolittle. After Robert Downey Jr. took on the hero role of Iron Man in the most popular franchise in the world, people were wondering what he could do next after his character left. Most people definitely didn't expect him to take on the role of Doolittle in the retelling of the classic story. Unfortunately, the movie did not do very well, and critics were quick to rip it apart. Peter Bradshaw from Guardians wrote, "This is the family movie we didn't know we needed, because we didn't. It really is horrible, inert, and every time Downey opens his mouth to say something unintelligible, the film dies a bit more." That is actually one of the nicer reviews too, if I'm being honest. The movie received only 15% on Rotten Tomatoes and was also a total box office flop, earning $61.8 million. But apparently had $115 million in global marketing costs alone. Just marketing costs. Coming in next is The Last Thing He Wanted. The political drama seemed to have a lot going for it, including a killer cast like Anne Hathaway and Ben Affleck. It was an adaptation of the 1996 novel and was released on Netflix, which made it easier for everyone to watch it. But that might be the only positive thing about the movie. The screenplay itself was ripped to shreds by every critic, the majority of them agreeing with the fact that it was just bad. Isaac Feldberg from Fortunes wrote, "The Last Thing He Wanted is almost impressively bad. It begins in a state of near total incoherence and somehow meanders further from there, plunging into almost experimental territory with its choppily edited mess of ridiculous dialogue and hyper-dense plotting." The movie was one of the first ones in 2020 and hit theaters on January 27th, earning a whopping 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. Sniping the number 8 spot is Brahms' The Boy 2. The first movie, titled The Boy, came out back in 2016, and most people were excited to find out that there was a sequel. For those who never saw the first one, it told the story of a killer doll who guards the house that it lives in, and it had one of the most shocking twist endings that we've seen in more recent years. But viewers were very disappointed after seeing the sequel, which only got a 10% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Benjamin Lee from The Guardians wrote a review and said, "There's something willfully unscary about The Boy 2. It's so punishably dull to watch, filled with dry, perfunctory dialogue from Stacey Manners consistently, uninventive script, and shot without even a glimmer of style that even at a brisk 86 minutes, it feels like unending torture." In the number 7 spot is Sonic the Hedgehog. Back in 2019, the trailer dropped for the new animation movie, and people were quick to tear it apart, saying they hated it and that it looked nothing like the original animation they were hoping for. So the movie was postponed, and they completely redid the entire design and movie, which we have to give them some credit because that is some serious dedication. On November 12th, Jeff Fowler and Ben Schwartz happily announced the arrival of the new Sonic. People were thrilled with the new design and were finally excited to see the movie. But once the movie came out, it did not receive the best reviews, and people said the 6-month delay fixed the design, but it did not fix how bad the movie was itself. Cruising into number 6 spot is The Turning. The movie seemed like a good idea on paper when creating an adaptation of the classic Henry James novel, The Turn of the Screw. It was produced by the one and only Steven Spielberg, so it was bound to be nothing but another success to add to his list. But critics were disappointed and called the movie incomprehensible. David Nusser from Real Film Reviews called The Turning, I quote, "an absolutely abhorrent ghost story, an excessively deliberate drama that's almost entirely devoid of dread and atmosphere, an almost uncommonly intolerable contemporary horror flick." The movie definitely had a lot of potential from the outside looking in, but viewers claimed it was a waste. The Rotten Tomato judges also slammed it, and it earned a massive 12%. Steven Spielberg, 12%? That is crazy. We are halfway through our list, and we have Fantasy Island. Some people were really excited to see the classic 70s television series be recycled and turned into a modern movie. The movie had Blumhouse behind it, which usually means that there's a solid horror thriller coming our way. But it's also a big risk, seeing as the series ended long before most of the movie's target audience was even born. The movie was one of the most brutally reviewed movies of this year, so far. People were calling it gallingly stupid, and that was one of the nicer remarks. One critic, Jason Schwan from Nashville Scene, said, "This film is such a haphazard stack of nested fantasies, it could be a Cinemax After Dark film if it took any joy in anything. Blumhouse's Fantasy Island is an incoherent mess, and it's effing exhausting." And just for fun, let me add in that the film only got an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes, not even in the double digits. We are here now at number 4, and we have Like a Boss. The movie was stacked with a killer cast, but it failed to capitalize on that fact. Tiffany Haddish and Rose Byrne seemed like the perfect pair to make the audience laugh and bring in some good reviews, but it didn't work out that way. And people had no problem pointing out that fact. Alison Wilmore from Vulture said, "How do you make a movie with this cast and have it be so devoid of joy? It's hard to guess whether the story was mangled by the studio's Reddits or just didn't have much to say to begin with. Both seem possible. The bigger question is why so many strong actors signed on for this misfire. It feels like a film whose point is clumsy, misunderstood by the very people who created it." This one is a real shame in my opinion because it had a lot of potential. I love Tiffany Haddish. However, it only got 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. Winning our third spot on this countdown is The Grudge. If you are a horror fan like me, then you were probably thrilled to know that there was a new Grudge movie coming out this year. The 2004 movie was one of the most popular scary films we saw that decade, so the reboot in 2020 edition was supposed to be just as promising. I'm really irritated that I had to put it on this list. But many people considered the movie a flop, and it didn't help that it only got a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie didn't have much from the original plot or any real scares in general, people said. Paul Whittington from The Independent was one of the many critics to point out that there seemed to be a lack of effort put into the film. He wrote, "This is shoddy stuff, full of J-horror cliches and supposed jump scares you can see coming from a mile off. It's not particularly frightening, but it sure is depressing." Taking over the number 2 spot is The Jesus Rolls. The movie was centered around Jesus Quintana from The Big Lebowski, which sounds like a pretty decent idea for a new movie. The movie took a lot of time to make, but unfortunately it took a hard turn into a more cartoonish aspect of the character and ruined a lot of potential that it originally had. One critic from FlickFeast said, "The Jesus Rolls throws a gutterball down the farcical greasy lane in an unimaginable sex buddy road flick where the thin layered juvenile raunchiness is a strikeout of the unwanted kind." Let's just say that fans who waited a long time for the flick were super disappointed when they finally got to see it. And of course, the Rotten Tomatoes rating is 23%. In our number 1 spot is Birds of Prey. This one will probably bring up mixed emotions for some people because it really did have mixed reviews. Depending on who you talk to, some people will say they absolutely loved it, while others will say it absolutely sucked. On Rotten Tomatoes, it did earn 78%, which is a really good rating, and you can't say that Margot Robbie's performance was not killer. But there's a lot of people online who said they weren't into the movie plot itself and called it irrelevant. Peter Travers from the Rolling Stone wrote, "Slapping the topical theme of female empowerment on a story that trucks in business as usual violence does not qualify as a game changer." Of course, I loved the idea of it being a female-based hero movie, but not everyone was a fan. I would love to hear your opinions. Let me know in the comments. Let me know about this whole list. Do you guys agree with this? What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and also leave a like if you enjoyed it. But for now, let's check out some other comments. Neelan Cant the Dragon says, "I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised." I don't even know where this comment came from, but it did make me laugh. Totally irrelevant though. William Lanier says, "Studio or no studio, your smile brightens our day, Joss." Thank you. I really want to get back to the studio, but I'm so thankful that you guys have been watching still as we film from home. Prep For It says, "Hey Joss, is that a Roman numerals tattoo on your wrist? Are you going to be mentioned in an upcoming Illuminati conspiracy video?" No, I will not. You're talking about my 3 X's. It's 3 kisses, and it's for my mom. No Illuminati here. Foxfire420 says, awesome job as always, Joss. Hey, Lucy, keep safe and healthy, ladies. You must have heard her creeping in the background of one of my videos. We are safe and healthy. She says thank you, if you didn't hear that. All right, guys, me and Lucy are getting out of here now. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and ring the bell. Come say hi, do all the things. I've been your host, Joss. I will see you next time.